Passover is a unique time in the Jewish calendar because it contains two essential, precious events, ideals that are central to the Jewish mind. Let's begin at the beginning. You'll remember in Bereshit, in Genesis, God creates the human being from the earth. And then fashioning this human being out of the mud, God then blows into the nostrils of this first being the breath of God's life, infusing into this inanimate being the life-giving force that could only come from God. Contrast that to the way that God creates all the animals of the field. God simply says, let them be, and they are. But with man, he separates this into two separate aspects, the physical, the corporal, and that of the transcendent, the body and the soul, are two separate elements that are contained in every individual. And these two aspects are referred to especially during the holiday of Pesach, when we remember when we eat matzah, we are feeding the body. We are nourishing the physical self, the goof, the shell, the husk of every human being. We're giving it essential nutrients in order for it to survive. Is matzah good? No. Does anybody like eating matzah? No. It is simply essential food, the staff of life, the bread by which we exist. It's tasteless, it's basically formless, it's a flat piece of bread that resembles cardboard and tastes not much different from that. And we eat it to sustain our body. But it's not the body that we're really focused on during Passover. We're focused on the soul, that transcendent breath of life that God blew into the nostrils of the very first human being, infusing him with unending potential. This is what God wants us to realize during the holy day of Passover, of Pesach, that we're to feed our body knowing that it houses our self, but our real self is much larger than what our body is, than our goof, our corporal self. This couldn't be stated in a more wise fashion than by Sfat Emet, who talked about these two elements coming together, fusing as it were, during Pesach. But also, the present-day scholar Abraham Twersky also mentions this when he talks about the creation process. You will remember that God took six days to create the being. In 6 days, God labored to create the world. God didn't need 6 days to create a world. God could have done it with a thought in a millisecond in no time at all. But God took deliberately 6 days to create the being, and on the seventh, God ceased from his labors. All of the other creations that God crafted were created exactly as they would always be. The alligator would always be the alligator, couldn't become something else, would never swing from a tree. The butterfly would start off as a chrysalis, but would end up precisely where it was supposed to end up, could never exceed the boundaries of its own physical limitations. So it is with all of life. None of life can exceed the boundaries of the physical laws of nature that God put into play at creation time, except human beings. Human beings being crafted with a godlike element of a soul can always rise beyond the stricture of where they are at any given moment. We are licensed with unlimited potential. And so the holiday of Passover beckons to us and asks us to reach inward, to our deepest self, our soul, to find our true potential, what we're capable of, and then become self-actualized by it. This is the true liberation of Passover in our time. Hag Sameach.